Alrighty. So before we start this pod, the NBA announced last night that it's going to cancel the remainder of the season due to the spread of the coronavirus. According to the NBA, Utah Jazz center Rudy Gobert actually has the coronavirus itself. I think he got it a couple of days ago. Don Mitchell was recently announced as well having coronavirus, so the league subsequently decided to cancel the remainder of the season or delay it. Guys, what are your impressions? What's your takeaways from the situation?
For me personally, Rudy Gobert, seeing the video of him touching all the mics recently and not really taking it seriously and then being the first one infected in the NBA, I don't want to point fingers, but because it could have happened to anyone, to be honest with you. But at the same time, I'm glad the NBA, pretty much the NBA had to shut down after an incident like that happened. As soon as a player gets it, there is no choice. And I truthfully don't know when they should come back. I mean, right now it seems inevitable that the regular season is pretty much done. And now should they push the playoffs or not?
Yeah. I was shocked. I was last night. It was right in the middle of the Dallas game. Yep. When they came out with the announcement. And of course, we did a pod yesterday where, even me and myself, I minimized the seriousness of this, thinking that it would kind of blow over. And, clearly it's something now that, it is a pandemic. It's no longer an epidemic. It's global. Look, it's important to, Rick Carlisle said there's a fine line between, panic and being informed, right? So it's important that the league is taking these precautions. Like Christian said, as soon as a player got it, right, that's when the league had to cancel or put the season on hiatus, because you couldn't then have those athletes playing against each other or interacting with fans. Obviously, Brandan, too, there's the issue with the Raptors, right? We just played the Jazz.
Well, that's a good point. The Raptors are currently in quarantine right now as well. That's a good point, though, you mentioned before, Greg. I think yesterday when we were recording the podcast, we didn't really express the severity of the situation. And now, what's obviously happened, especially what happened last night and leading into this morning, it's a global pandemic. And, obviously the virus doesn't seem like it's going to be contained anytime soon. And I don't envision the league even commencing playoffs anytime soon. Like, Graf, do you see them maybe doing in the summertime, shortening the off season? Like, how do you think that breaks down?
So recently tennis just announced a 10-week sort of ban. Again, no one knows, right? Like, no one knows where the state of the world will be in 10 days or in 10 weeks. So it is hard to say. Again, you look at cases in China, it's going down technically. So it's been limited there. Again, what Greg said earlier, the spread of information is hard right now because there's just so much of it coming out. So it's really just take it with a grain of salt. But I do think in the end of the day, look, sports in general are a money-making business. And something this serious, it would take something this serious to actually have no fans be an option. Because that was number one, right? Like they didn't want to kill the business in general and say no games. They wanted no fans. So at least there's still revenue from television. And then honestly, March Madness without fans or any other league, that would probably be the best ratings in years. That's probably the only reason why it's going on, even though a coach in the NCAA had it.
Well, it's more justifiable in the NCAA because I don't want to get all hippity-dippity, but the NBA is for the fans. For a large part, I think NCAA March Madness is for the players, right? For the academic institution as well, right? So I can see that, but I think the NBA not having fans there, like I can't envision that happening. Like that needs to happen, especially in professional sports.
To be honest, sorry, Graf, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, like, I don't see them playing out the rest of the regular season. There's not much to play for anyways. If you look at the Eastern Conference, there's like a 4-game gap anyways between Orlando and the next best. Same with out West. In my mind, you could end this 10 weeks from now, start the playoffs. You'd pretty much really only be 3 weeks behind your regular schedule. It wouldn't be the end of the world.
The only loser right now is Vince Carter. Doesn't really have his retirement tour anymore.
I mean, that 3 last night though, that was pretty iconic as his last play.
So look, another thing to keep in mind, like the vaccine is being developed, and again, I'm not an epidemiologist, but just from
what?
An epidemiologist, it's like a public
new word of the day.
It's like public health professionals dealing with intravenous drug use. Some epidemiologists deal with drug addiction. But anyways, my point is, like, I'm not 100% sure, but from what I understand, there is a vaccine being developed that will be circulated, or at least in a test run by April. That was the goal. So in theory, it could be just a temporary hiatus. And like Graf alluded to, it seems like the standings are pretty set. I don't know if any team has a good case right now to say that they got screwed by this, right? Like the Eastern Conference, to me, is pretty set, right? Even those teams battling in the middle, like maybe it affects which team gets home court, but it's pretty set that Milwaukee's 1, we're 2. Boston looks like pretty set on 3, and then you have Miami, Indiana, and Philly kind of battling it out there for 4, 5, 6. But to me, the playoff seedings wouldn't even be affected that much. The players would get a bit of a rest, and you could start the playoffs almost on or close to on schedule.
Hey, all these teams in 7 and 8, even 9, are all posturing at the end of the day. They're not, anything could happen in the NBA. But you're talking about the Lakers, Clippers, number 1 seed in the West, and you got the Bucks in the East. It's a foregone conclusion, more or less, especially in the NBA. All right, guys, any last takeaways with this?
You know what the first thing I thought of with all this? Space Jam.
What?
Do you remember in Space Jam when this happened? Right? When Del Harris, who was the coach of the Lakers...
when he was in China, and then he accidentally released this massive global flu in... where was it again?
No, do you remember... And Vlade Divac, right, was talking how the players aren't going to be playing?
Space Jam?
Maybe that's inappropriate. Yeah, you got to rewatch Space Jam.
Vlade Divac was in Space Jam?
You talking about after Bugs Bunny and the rest of the Toon characters zap the talent out of the NBA players? Are you comparing that to right now?
Yes, I am.
Did you also say Vlade Divac was in Space Jam?
He is.
No, he isn't.
I would recommend you rewatch the movie, because we spoke about this recently on the podcast, and you are not appreciating Bill Murray's role in the movie, which means that you need to rewatch it.
Muggsy Bogues, Sean Bradley, Larry Johnson, Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing, and Michael Jordan.
He's not one of the main guys. He's in a scene, again, when the reason I thought about it is because in the movie, this mystery virus, they think it's a virus or a disease, is spreading amongst NBA players. And the Lakers, and that's right, refuse to take the court. And that's when Vlade Divac plays for the Lakers. Remember? And they all put on gas masks.
So he's in the movie, but he's not part of the movie.
He's not a main character.
A prop, a physical prop. Who would play that role in 2020?
Boban.
Oh. What's that?
Boban.
Yeah. Perfect. All right. Thank you very well. So we're going to start the podcast right now. We just thought we'd give you guys a quick sort of breakdown, interpretation of what has transpired within the last 24 hours or so.
Thoughts and prayers for the Raptors.
Exactly. And just to clarify what our comments were before, because obviously we were misspoken and we didn't have all the information in front of us. And obviously the severity of it sped up quite a bit last night. And we do apologize if we did say anything insensitive or we didn't really acknowledge the severity of it. But, obviously we're doing this now to
And one last note, if you were at the fundraiser last night with Norman Powell, please do the right thing and just self-quarantine. The Raptors are doing it. The staff are doing it. Everyone at MLSE is doing it. Do it as well, please.
All righty, wash your hands, and all right, here's the podcast.
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price.
Here's North to the rim.
Big time move right there. The early in this game. How about Norman Powell?
going up strong, gets that big step, and he's up. Here's Powell on the break. Slam dunk over Giles. Oh, man, that was nasty. That's that power we were talking about earlier, Matt.
In this biz, it look like I'm just going to keep on getting rich.
Carter comes up shooting. Got it! 1.2 seconds to go. Vince Carter, you are amazing.
Give it to me. A little baby black. Get that garbage out of here.
Welcome to Toronto Sport Matters, podcast number 86. Ooh, 86. I am joined. Lucky, your number is 86. That's fucking weird. Anyways, we are joined with Christian Wolfgang Graffin, who had a lovely baby shower this weekend.
I did. You both bailed, but no, you both got me great gifts, so thank you.
I was sick, okay?
Okay.
Prior engagement.
Oh, sorry. There's a massive flu virus going around globally, and there's a bunch of babies and your pregnant girlfriend, and I didn't want to contaminate them with my poison.
Brandon was just hungover.
I'm glad you didn't come if you were actually sick, but you don't actually have coronavirus, do you?
No.
Okay.
AKA the common flu. We'll get to that a little bit later. And we're also joined by Gregory Yeroshadas. Greg, do you see Joe Biden get face to face with that guy in that Detroit?
And he talk shit in his face. He said something like
gun control.
Yeah, it was something about gun control.
Well, tell our listeners what happened.
It just happened today, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what he said, but he just basically told him like that he's dead wrong or something like that. Not a big deal. Joe Biden's getting old and senile, man. He snaps really quickly.
He's 2 years younger than Bernie Sanders.
But Bernie Sanders is much sharper mentally. Joe Biden can't even finish sentences.
Is that a literacy thing or is that an age thing?
I don't know, but the man is not sharp. He's just someone that the establishment dug up to try to stop the democratic socialist movement.
Alrighty, and with that note, let's switch over to the Toronto
basketball.
Raptors basketball. I guess the topic at hand, we'll start it off with our impressive 5-game West Coast road trip, 4-1, 4 wins against teams we probably should be beating: Utah Jazz, Sacramento Kings, Golden State Warriors, and the Phoenix Suns, and a loss to the Denver Nuggets. Gregory Yeroshadas, what are your big takeaways from this road trip? Anything of note that you want to talk about?
I really think, we were really in that game in Denver. It was a hotly contested contest. I believe we were playing without a center. Right, so we didn't have Ibaka back. We still didn't have Gasol back, and when their best player,
OG center,
when their best player is a center in the case of Denver, your odds of winning the game are going to be low, and you're playing in Denver. That being said, really, obviously you expect to win in Phoenix. Over this streak too, Norman Powell has come out and played amazing. He played so good in Sacramento, and then last night I think was the signature win. Right, he goes down early. They're able to bounce back. Ibaka plays amazing. Siakam plays amazing. Lowry plays amazing. McCaw plays 30-something minutes. Great defense. OG, of course, is just the silent whatever through the whole thing.
I like how you went amazing. McCaw, he was there and in the game.
Well,
amazing.
He did. No, I mean, when you talk about playing, he played over 30 minutes, and he didn't even come into the game thinking he was going to probably play half that, right? Because he had to play because Norman Powell went out. It's really impressive. That win last night was very impressive because Utah is a tough place to play. They're fourth in a very contested Western Conference. You didn't even game plan for not having Norm. That's what the impressive thing is, because he's been your best scorer.
Bunch of Mormon racists out there.
And let me tell you, I thought I woke up in bizarro world today. The end of First Take, Stephen A. Smith puts the Raptors in his top 5. Puts us as 4, actually, right? No other Eastern Conference team in there, except for the Bucks, obviously. And then, who leads off on the jump with Rachel Nichols, the Gossip Queen? A segment on Pascal Siakam and the Raptors in Utah. So maybe the Western Conference trick, maybe this trip.
The Gossip Queen.
Gossip Queen herself, man.
Wait, does that make you the Gossip King?
I am. Okay. Right? Look, so...
No, he's a prince. Stephen A. Smith is a king. Come on. Give the man the respect.
Put some respect on my name.
Put respect on my... That's more Bill Cosby.
Well, anyway, so just to answer your question, I'm very impressed, but I'm not surprised. This team is more fun to watch than any Raptors team ever.
I mean, don't forget we lost to Denver the week before. Charlotte we had lost to. Milwaukee beat us before that. We come off three bad losses.
No, but like I said, we didn't have a center against Denver or against Charlotte. And in the Charlotte game, we just lost to Milwaukee. And you expect it's like a letdown game.
You can almost look at this road trip, though, and say you can expect to lose it. Like, if we had lost 2 of 4 and split it, let's just say.
Yeah.
It would have been an okay road trip. But the fact that we won 3, I mean, we gutted out.
It was the Utah game.
The wins. The Utah one was great. Sacramento was a good win, too, honestly. Like, Fox is a very good player.
Me and Brandan on the second night of the back-to-back.
Of course.
Right?
I fully agree. That was the marquee game last night, especially with Powell going out. OG got injured for a bit there as well.
They injured each other.
He came back. I know, that was bad. Well, OG's a tank.
Yeah.
Right? OG's just too big, and you saw that with Gobert. He didn't want any piece of OG later on in the game.
Oh, yeah, that was a serious shoving match.
Well, it's just more the importance of winning the games we should be winning. Obviously, you talk about Utah, Phoenix, Sacramento, etc.
Should you win in Utah?
Well,
on the second night of a back-to-back, down players?
No, I think it's the exact opposite. We're winning games that we shouldn't be winning.
I'm not saying like we should be winning this game. I'm saying emphasizing the importance of beating teams that on paper, comparatively speaking, we should beat, like the Utah Jazz, in consideration that, even though we are 3.5 games above the Boston Celtics in the second spot, we keep echoing this a lot, but, we don't want to play, Indiana, Philadelphia in the first round. Ideally, we want to play Brooklyn, Orlando. The Bucks, have a pretty strong stranglehold over the number 1 spot. So ideally, if we do, we want to keep our second position because it's going to be a tough sled in the first round if we do end up playing Philadelphia.
Yeah, and just to build off that, it's not just in that first round, it's that you want to avoid Milwaukee until the Eastern Conference Finals.
That's a great point as well, yeah.
Right? So then, because if you run into them before, you're looking at a potential earlier exit, and they're going to and if you beat Milwaukee, you're going to be worn down.
Alrighty, another big Toronto Raptors topic that hit this week was the announcement of Norman Powell being the player of the week.
Huge.
With the exception of last night, if not including last night's game, he's almost averaging 17 points per game. Really, it seems like he's earning that contract. I know he's been a very maligned figure in the Toronto basketball media for the last couple of years based on that contract. But Graffin, do you think he can sustain this level of play? And how do you envision him? What type of player is he going to be in the playoffs? Is he going to be part of our core rotation? Is it going to be, or do you see the nerves getting to him a bit?
Gloat. Say it. You can gloat.
So, does anyone remember the preview episode of the season? And,
Luka Doncic.
I think we all said what? What did we say? We all have one player who we're most excited about to see this season.
3 things.
Yeah, and I said number 1 was Norm Powell. And I remember I was ridiculed. I was laughed at.
Yeah.
I was made a fool of.
It's
both of you.
It's the kind of thing where we're happy to be wrong about.
You know what?
Well, I'm happy because, yes, of course he can sustain this shit. I've been telling you this since day one.
No,
it's injuries that have been plaguing Norman Powell, and especially this season. I think the number 1 thing that changed for Powell is the fact that Kawhi was here last year. Mm-hmm. Every single person thinks that the impact of Kawhi was on OG, and and now OG's steals are up and all that. I think Powell's offensive game has gone to another level, because his shooting is different. There's something different about his shot. It looks different, like the form. It looks way more crisp. And again, he shoots right at the top of his arc, kind of like Westbrook does. So it's impossible to block. And then 2, I don't know. I have a feeling, and this is just a hunch, that Kawhi's impact really, really had a lasting effect on Powell. And again, not just his because Powell a lot of the time is on the other team's best player or the best guard, let's just say.
Yeah.
He's defensively stepped his game up. Offensively, of course, he's gone to a next level now, especially the second half of the season. But yeah, no, of course, Norman Powell, I think, could keep it up. It's the injuries that are going to stop him, and we really, really need him for the playoffs.
He's a player. Him and OG are starting now to hit new levels that, which again, our ceiling rises because these guys are so young and they're still getting better. That if they can keep that high going for the playoffs, there's less of a limit on what the Raptors can do. And there's another thing about Powell that I think has also been influential is his training with Kobe Bryant in the summer.
Agreed.
Right,
Agreed.
And also, this was something that I heard Lowry say when he was interviewed about Powell last year, that he doesn't think that Powell should be playing around with the ball, that he should be elevating because no one could block his shot, or going downhill because no one could stay in front of him. And a few years ago, if you remember, Powell trained with DeRozan in the offseason, and he came back and he was trying all these little shimmies,
Crazy
and
things.
like he was trying to be.
Mini DeMar?
Well, yeah, like he was trying to use fakes and jukes and like little moves, but players like that, you have to play to your strengths, and that's what I see with Powell. He's playing to his strengths.
Well, he's just simplified the game.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. He simplified it, right?
He's not overthinking things, and he's not thinking, wow, I can do 20 things, right? He's going, I can do 2 things really well. Again, what we said about Nick Nurse earlier, right? Like perfect what you do well and just make sure they're good.
And you can see the game is slowed down for him. Like, I know we say that a lot. Like, what does it mean when we say the game slows down? Like, he's able to read the game and understand how he's going to affect it. And, man, like every time he shoots it, I think he's going in. Like, over that week when he was averaging plus 30, he was doing it on, like, plus 50% field goal percentage. Just so many of his shots are coming from 3. So, and don't forget, that game that we lost against the Bucks, Norman Powell wasn't playing. Norman Powell loves playing against the Bucks. That's where playoff Powell came from.
Yep.
So it's really exciting, and you love to see it, right? Because he's such a good guy.
Well, Nick Nurse always says it. Like, our team right now has 8 starters, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have 8 starters. So what do you do? And Powell has sort of forced his way into
Sorry about that, guys. Some random person just walked in the room.
Yeah, and you know what?
Trying to get a taste of our knowledge.
And thank God that the Raptors brass has more patience than I do, because I was advocating to sell high on Powell. Let's get it. You know what I mean? But now it's like it would be foolish to have traded this guy, because this is the guy that when you signed that 4-year deal to, this is the player that you thought he was going to turn into. And kudos to them, because he really is like he's playing like an all-star right now.
My last point on Powell is what you just hinted at right there, but name another player that $11 million or $12 million a year
He's amazing value right now.
He is the best value in the NBA, I think.
But before, we were saying the opposite, right? Because
contracts mature, right? Like you want to build that up, because again, the first 2 years it's a learning. The last 2 years he comes out and does this.
It's true. It's great value.
Alrighty, jumping into the second quarter. Before we get into this, I just got a little piece of journalism gold I just saw on The Ringer.
Oh.
So, The Way Back. Do you guys know that movie with Ben Affleck, the alcoholic basketball coach? That looked like complete shit, but apparently it's 88% of Rotten Tomatoes, which is absolutely insane.
That is a story of my life.
Alcoholism and being a basketball coach. So anyways, The Ringer put up this article. So in the movie itself, Ben Affleck apparently rejected a scholarship to play at the University of Kansas. So The Ringer wrote an article about the timeline based on the movie of how old Ben Affleck would be if he took that scholarship for Kansas. You know who he would have fucking played with? Paul Pierce, Jacques Vaughn, and Rafe LaFrance. And Ben Affleck, Rafe LaFrance, Paul Pierce. I find that absolutely fucking hilarious. The whole pick and roll of Ben Affleck and Paul Pierce together.
Is it loosely based on a true story? Like,
yeah, Ben Affleck's life of getting divorced and falling in alcoholism.
No. I think that character is a real. I mean, I'm
a big fan of sports movies. Like, I love sports movies.
Good ones.
But
they could be really bad.
One really, it has no appeal.
It got rave reviews. Like, it's like 88% of Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it looks like complete dog shit. I agree with you.
Should we all like just get really high and watch it together?
Viewing party.
I've been pushing.
Greg's just crying. He's like, I can relate to so much.
My buddy Ben Gwillem, who has come on this podcast before, he wants to do a top 10 basketball movies of all time podcast. I would love to do that.
Yeah, number one's Hoosiers.
He got game.
Basketball Diaries. White Men Can't Jump.
Okay, no, it's Space Jam. Is it Space Jam?
No. If you legitimately think Space Jam is the best basketball movie of all time, you deserve to get slapped. Come on.
Bill Murray was excellent in Space Jam.
Oh, he got
excellent.
Robbed of all awards that year. Robbed.
Larry's not white. Larry's clear.
Alrighty, so we got 2 topics to get to in the NBA news. The first one we'll talk about before we get to the dark, dusty subject of coronavirus. Dusty subject.
Right.
We'll talk about the LA Lakers' big win over the LA Clippers this weekend. Before the game, the series sat at 2-0 with a Clippers victory. I think we'd all come to the general conclusion that the Clippers are the better team overall, but the Lakers somehow took a victory against the Clip. Any takeaways from that game, Greg? Anything you want to focus on? Does it kind of give you a clear picture of the current NBA hierarchy right now?
Well, it confirms the suspicion that I had watching LeBron play against the Clippers and actually Milwaukee a bit previously. like in the first game, he was noticeably passive. And a lot of people were saying, oh, he's scared of Kawhi, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, but I mean, when you see it, like, you can understand, it was strange, right? And to me, now, seeing how he came out last game, like the one that just happened, it seems to me like it was more a piece of gamesmanship, to get Anthony Davis involved and like run the offense through him and make him have to win in key moments, which is what he did in Cleveland, right? And also not show his hand too much, right? Like, because if you show them what you're going to be doing, like
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, like he has to save something for the moments that mattered. And you know what I love? They talk about takeaways at the as he gets subbed out of the game against the Clippers, and I think it was Kyle Kuzma that put the crown on him. Yeah, because Giannis, right? Last time they were in Milwaukee, Giannis put the crown on himself. So and it's all in good fun, right? Like I don't think
we're going to talk about that.
I think just hopping on that quickly. I think Kuzma within the last month or so has been balling. In the sense that, he's not going to be that third guy everyone envisioned. He's not going to be a primary scorer. He's going to have to maximize his efficiency in the 25 minutes he plays every game. And he's become a catalyst on defense. And he can drain the open three and good rebound. He's been it's a great point. He's been very hyper aggressive on the board.
He's tall, man. He's a tall player.
You know what I mean, though? Like a lot of these young players get pigeonholed in certain situations, and they just can't really. Yeah, and like it's really refreshing to see Kyle Kuzma maximize his opportunities and not really sort of relegate himself to being like those like textbook examples of guys who just don't really want to change themselves or redefine themselves.
Because LeBron's going to trade him if he doesn't, man.
The story of that game though was Avery Bradley.
Oh yeah,
he played great.
Avery Bradley came out of nowhere.
He played great,
right? And not to mention Marcus Morris did nothing. I think he was 0 for 9. He was missing everything. Like they put him in the
Pat Beverly didn't look good at all either.
Pat Beverly looked terrible. Like the Clippers didn't play a good game. The Lakers, I don't want to say got lucky because they didn't, these guys next door are going nuts, by the way, right now.
You guys continue this conversation. I'm going to address this. Continue.
We're apparently late to the punk party.
Well, the 90s were a while ago, right?
Yeah. But yeah, just to what you were saying, I agree.
They got lucky to an extent, is all I'm saying. Like, I mean, look, the Clippers did not play well.
But Paul George and their two stars played well, right? So in that sense, the two stars canceled each other out, right? The difference between the LeBron and Kawhi, LeBron had 8 assists. Kawhi had none.
Also, I think Anthony Davis is a substantially better player than Paul George.
It was also end game. End game, LeBron took over. Like you guys, I'm sure you guys watched it, but
he's
the last couple minutes, it's like
he's such a great game manager.
There's no one who has a switch more than LeBron.
Random hypothetical question: who would you rather have, the tandem of Kevin Durant and Steph Curry, or LeBron James and Anthony Davis?
The latter.
I mean, right? I mean, I've never seen
at their prime.
It's a great question because you're talking about stylistic differences, right? LeBron and AD, you're talking about the pick and roll as the most, the pick and roll lob right now is the most unstoppable play in basketball. Last year, it was the Steph Curry, Kevin Durant pick and pop, right? Like the high screen and flaring out, and they're both able to shoot threes. This is the exact opposite. It's a great question. Me personally, I go with AD and LeBron.
Same with me.
Yeah, and I think obviously KD and Steph are fantastic
soft,
basketball players, but they're soft. And I think you're also you can't emphasize any low post game at all. It's going to be outside shooting and the perimeter game. So yeah, I obviously take those two guys. Any other takeaways from this? Did you do you see the Lakers? Do you think the Bucks, legitimately the Bucks, Giannis and co, taking out the Lakers in a 7-game series?
No, because I don't LeBron doesn't have. Giannis doesn't have a second guy. He has a better supporting cast, but it comes in a system, and I think that in the playoffs in big moments, you need guys that can create their own shot, and there's not that many guys on Milwaukee that can do that.
Graf, how many more years does Giannis have in his contract?
2. This year and then next year.
This year and next year afterwards.
2022, I'm pretty sure.
What do the Bucks need to do? Obviously it's a championship, but I just, do they need to bring in a second guy? From my perspective, you know what I mean? If they don't win the championship this year, He's out the door.
That's step one, right? If they don't win a championship, but even if they don't win
if they get to the
championship
finals,
this year,
I think that's still a success.
Agreed.
For them.
And then plus, again, if they have the offseason that they try to do something else, or the trade deadline of next year, where if they're not doing well,
Giannis is still getting better, and so was Middleton and stuff. Like Middleton can prove it, eh? Like
he's a good player.
No. But if he has a big postseason, I think like that criticism goes away.
Well, it's picking Bledsoe over Brogdon. I personally think
hasn't had a great year in
that was a bad call.
Indiana. But Brogdon hasn't had a great year.
Indiana's one of the scarier teams. I wouldn't want to face Indiana.
I think what Brogdon brings as a point guard in comparison to Bledsoe is more efficient to what Giannis can do. Yeah. So we get to the second topic. I'm just going to read a bunch of shit because I personally don't really have a strong opinion about the whole coronavirus fiasco. But apparently
way to introduce. I'm just going to read a bunch.
The NBA are closing access to locker rooms and clubhouse and all non-essential personnel response to the coronavirus. The league has basically announced a joint statement Monday night. And they basically made a decision after a consultation with the infectious disease and public health experts. LeBron James subsequently stated Friday night, I can't read shit because there's like this massive glare over my computer, but I'll try my best. Friday night, Lakers star LeBron James brushed out the notion the virus might soon force games to be held in empty arenas. His comments came despite a memo from the league office instructing teams to prepare for that eventuality and make contingency plans to reduce the size of traveling parties. But LeBron said, I play for the fans. That's what it's all about. If I show up to arena and there ain't no fans there, I ain't playing. And what are your takeaways from this whole situation? It's a lot to take in. There's a lot of information passed your way. Obviously, it's a massive epidemic. There's 10,000 people currently in Italy with coronavirus. They're estimating that 1 million people could potentially die from coronavirus alone in America. Currently, more than 113 people currently have the disease, and over 3,900 have died from the virus. How is this going to impact the NBA moving forward this season? And are there any specific takes or
it's hard
things you want to add?
Look, before you go, LeBron James did go back on that a bit. He said he would play. Like that wasn't like a definitive thing. So today he kind of retracted those statements.
Yeah, and I mean, most of the people that are fans of the game that are watching you aren't in the arena. It's just the people that can afford to kind of be there, So like the fans will still be supporting you, and you still have fans to play for in that sense.
Business wise though, it's a factor.
Oh yeah, but it's worse to not play at all.
Like Graf, having like a new child, potentially coming into the world in a couple months, and Greg being a dog owner, how do you guys feel about this whole situation? Sorry.
About the actual virus itself, I think the fear of the virus is going to do way more damage than the virus itself.
Yeah.
Look, right now there's a lot of people, and I can go down conspiracy alley here. I don't want to, but
please.
No, I can't. I can't.
You're speaking Greg's language right now.
I know, Greg, you'd love this one.
Talk
too.
to me, buddy.
remember when the U.S. said that when North Korea said they had a Christmas gift for the U.S. And we never knew what it was, and then the first case came around Christmas. And isn't it weird how North Korea doesn't have any
Where did you read
cases?
This? Reddit?
And South Korea and China, the two bordering nations, have the most amount of cases? Okay, we'll stop that. What were we talking about?
The coronavirus.
No, I'm not scared. Look, the death rate is so low.
I just read, according to Washington Examiner, nearly 200 North Korean soldiers died from the coronavirus.
Incorrect. I think it's gonna, like I said, it's going to do more damage to the fear of it alone. But I don't think it's. You have to be precautious with athletes in this sense, especially in this day and age. You have to limit the media, which they've already done. You have to put all measures forward because, again, the last thing you'd want is for there to be no games at all. And as soon as one player gets anything anywhere, they'll just shut down all the games in all the leagues. That's the only reason why the NHL, NBA, MLS, and I think MLB all bonded together and all said we're not having any more media at our games. So it's serious in the sense that you don't want to take it a step further than what it already is, and you want to make sure that it doesn't get there.
Yeah, and it's not just to protect the athletes. It's not just you don't want to have all those people in the same proximity, right? He's right. Of course, the corporate news media loves this stuff because it's death toll reaches this, right, and it keeps people watching. Although it's probably way overblown, and they're not covering other important things at the expense of this.
Like the Toronto Raptors beating the Jazz.
That's right. Or like or Bernie Sanders. No. So it is overblown. That being said, like, it hasn't really hit North America. But by the time it does, apparently there's going to be a vaccine. And I mean, I remember a lot of this hype with SARS too, and then it kind of just went away.
I mean, but again, it was serious. Like, my mom's a nurse, and it got to the point where there was quarantine. There was a lot of people that were infected.
But I think a lot of I think a lot of the reaction that we're getting now is just because of we've went through SARS, and so we're trying to take these preemptive.
And we've all seen
steps.
the movie Contagion. We don't want it to get
now all of a sudden on Netflix, you go on Netflix and it's like recommending like all these like Contagion or whatever movies.
I was
right?
on a flight the other day, or like in February to Arizona, and I watched Contagion on my laptop.
What up, Steven Soderbergh?
Just to make sure that everyone got really
nervous.
Graf, I want to ask you, do you have Disney Plus?
No.
Greg, do you?
Of course not.
Fuck.
No, you cannot steal our passwords for Disney Plus, you dick.
You're going to have a child soon, okay?
Okay, you stole my League Pass, you stole my TMN, you've stolen it all.
I know.
He's stealing your League Pass?
I have your Crave.
Who isn't stealing my League Pass?
I have your Crave.
My dad steals my League Pass. He likes to watch Giannis.
It'd be a lot easier for him when he's in Toronto.
Yeah.
Alrighty, jumping to third quarter. I was envisioning this as like a debate, like a hotly contested conversation about who deserves to be the MVP. Is it Giannis Antetokounmpo or is it LeBron James? Battle of Titans. But apparently Greg, the lib cuck he is, wants to have a conversation about the MVP debate. So we'll have a nice roundtable conversation about who deserves to be the MVP. Is it Giannis or is it LeBron James?
What I said was that I don't like forced debates, right? Like sometimes when you watch First Take, they're arguing just for the sake of arguing, and then you don't even know what the hell's going on anymore. Right? If people have a natural disagreement, that's one thing. They can have a debate, right? But this guy was trying to get us all fired up here to have a friggin' fist fight on air. Right?
Fucking libs,
have a conversation here, right? Look, in the debate, I actually think that people. Okay, all of a sudden now.
So now we're calling it a debate.
All of a sudden, LeBron is now the guy for the MVP. When the whole season it's been, it's totally Giannis, and now all of a sudden it's LeBron.
Well, it's not like LeBron hasn't been around.
No, but I mean, these games now have he's surged over Giannis now.
They have more merit,
right? Well, but still, like the Bucks and the Lakers are 1-1, and to Brandon's point earlier, the Clippers still have won 2 out of 3 against LeBron and the Lakers. So it's just because these games are in close proximity and closer to the playoffs, right? Okay, so I'm not taking anything away from LeBron right now. So the numbers for Giannis are just better. And he's the best player on the best team. He's the incumbent MVP. You're seeing what happens when you take him out of the lineup. The Bucks are a middling team.
I mean, his shooting's not better. His passing,
his numbers,
his dribbling,
his dominance. He's dominating the game.
No, I know, but you said he's across the board better.
His numbers.
Like, statistically, he's got half the amount of assists as LeBron.
Points.
He has worse free throws. He's got worse three-point percentage.
Points and so he averages more points. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does it on a higher percentage. And he's killing it in rebounds. Killing it. And I'm pretty sure he's only... I mean, his assists aren't terrible.
I mean, he doesn't have Anthony Davis on the team. But yeah, no, I hear you.
Yeah, but that goes like to... That's another reason why I don't think LeBron has the best case, because... And it's not necessarily his fault, but he's playing with an all-world player beside him. You can't double-team him. It's similar to what you saw with Durant and Curry and Thompson, but to a lesser extent, right? It's easy to get 11 assists when 3 of them a game. He's just throwing it up at the rim and AD's catching it.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, he's 7 feet. It's just easy to just dunk and he's not skilled. You had to learn the skilled plays.
And anyways, look, so that's my piece there. So to me, Giannis, statistically, best player on the best team, incumbent MVP, and his stats are better. And I think he's, if not just as important, more important to his team.
My question to 3 guys, just to kind of play the devil's advocate or just kind of be in the middle of this conversation. Here. If you took each respective player from their current team and you plot them on a contender like the Clippers, who would make the team better? Who would look better in that situation?
I think it depends on which team you put them on.
I said Clippers. Right? Clip.
Giannis would fit better, I think, on the Clippers than LeBron.
You think?
Because Kawhi plays LeBron's position.
Okay, Raptors then. Let's throw the Raptors out there.
It's hard to say. But how about if we switch them?
Typical liberal answer.
How about if we switch them?
Like
if Giannis was on the Lakers,
right, okay,
and LeBron was on the Bucks, do you think that the Bucks would be doing this well? I don't think they would.
I think.
Are you insane?
I don't think they would.
LeBron's done more with less.
I don't know if he has the energy anymore.
Have you not seen?
He went to the fucking finals of Larry Hughes and Eric Snow as fucking
when
sidekick.
He was 21. Right, he's 35 now. I don't think he can. I don't think he has the energy to do what Giannis. Giannis plays defense too. Sorry, had to bring that up. Giannis plays defense. LeBron played defense over the weekend, but he's not like a dominant defensive player. He doesn't. He's saving it.
He's got to switch, right?
Yeah, he needs to.
And that's so. My main argument for LeBron winning MVP, because you're not wrong. Like
there's no right answer. They're both great options.
Deep down, it is like Giannis should win MVP, but.
Brandon's looking, scowling through the glass.
It's like a legacy award, too. LeBron's won 4.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's getting to the point now where, Giannis is getting better. Like, he's going to win a lot more. LeBron lost a lot of MVPs based off that. So, if you're going to go off historical, LeBron James right now should have 6, maybe even more. So, he lost some to, like, the Derek, great seasons of players,
but just them wanting to give an award to someone besides LeBron.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like so he's 35 years old at this point. We don't know when we're going to see that drop off. We really don't.
There's never been anyone like this. When Michael Jordan was playing at year 35, he was cadaver, barely getting the court from the Washington Wizards.
No, 21 points a game, boy.
No, man, that's at 40. When he was 35. When he was
retired at 35.
He was averaging like 28, and he was winning championships.
He was batting 141 for the Chicago White Sox AA minor league system.
But you're right that like he's leading in the league in assists. He's playing point guard.
There's a bunch of great names out there for sure. Like James Harden's balling out. Luka Doncic looks fantastic.
No, these two are.
Yeah, but there's a consensus number one. I always kind of echo this on the podcast on a regular basis, but we know who the real MVP is. It's Carmelo Anthony.
Man,
Sixth man of the year, comeback player of the year,
Giannis
MVP.
Is 25 and he's already won an MVP. Let LeBron win one.
Okay, so
There's my argument.
I think honestly, I think that's the legacy thing. Like really, because all these other little factors vote in. Let's not pretend like things like this don't vote in.
They're both firsts.
Like
both
you said,
stats are crazy.
When LeBron had the stats and whatever to get the MVP, but they gave it to other guys because other factors. Okay,
same thing happened to Shaq.
Yeah,
Steve. I'm
our man
sorry
Steve
to say
Nash,
it, but Steve Nash. Or maybe it was Dwayne Wade. But anyways,
no, you're right. No, it was Shaq.
Shaq, right?
And he's still bitter about it. And fuck Shaquille O'Neal, man. He didn't even put us in the playoffs this year. Guy's such a Kyle Lowry hater.
Add him to the list.
He's such a Kyle Lowry hater. Yeah, Shaq's on the list.
You know what's hilarious? That bet he lost with Dwayne Wade, where he had to grow
his hairline. His hairline. That was hilarious.
I thought it was fake. I honestly thought that was fake.
He did the old Carlos Boozer Sharpie trick.
No, no. Part of that was definitely fake.
Like it was all the way on the back of his head. His hairline.
Yeah, because you know who's been doing that? Kenny Smith. He started to they have a little lineup that he has. I don't know if you've noticed it.
Well, it keeps going back and back and back?
No. Like he's brought out the hairline again. But just on the edges. I'm not hair club for men.
I'm not paying attention to that.
Is LeBron James's hair real? More after this quick commercial break.
That's the question.
Alrighty, we're going to the last subject of the goddamn podcast. That is quarter number 4, Greg's Great, sponsored by Diamond Pizza. Your number 1 East York go-to destination for poutine and fucking deep-fried panzerottis. So we're going to talk about the fiasco that is the Brooklyn Nets. They became a team that I absolutely love the last couple of years because the previous ownership just completely fucked them over. They traded all their draft picks, all their draft capital, and they just bottomed out. The trade didn't work out, but they were very smart about picking up, late first-round gems, second-round picks, overseas guys, scrappy free agents, etc. Yep. And last year, you could see all that come to fruition when the team, finished at 42-40. There wasn't a marquee superstar, but the team gelled together under the guidance and the discipline.
Happy.
Well, it's Kenny Atkinson. He's a leader of men type, no egos in the locker room. Everyone sort of embraced that sort of blue-collar rhetoric he was espousing. And, the team obviously lost in the first round last year, but you can see glimmers of optimism.
They played well. They played well in that
right.
first round.
And for me, looking, being a fan of that team and looking at them, bringing guys like Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, and obviously Kyrie Irving this offseason, I was pretty optimistic about their outlook this season, considering what Kenny Atkinson, was able to get out of that organization. But currently, their team's been not a dumpster fire, but 28-34. And Kenny recently announced his decision to step down. He resigned as the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. There's a lot of information leaking out, but one big guy who's been really close to this whole story is Shams Charania of The Athletic, and I'll read a couple things that he reported. Apparently, Nets held a spirited team meeting, according to sources, starting with several veterans expressing that they wanted to see Spencer Dinwiddie play like the player they know, and later with people in the room calling out Dinwiddie and DeAndre Jordan. Then perhaps the most critical thing that happened, sources say Durant chimed in, pointing out that the Nets must improve their habits and they're not building the proper culture traits necessary for a title contender. Shams continued to say that Durant and Irving never connected with Atkinson, and there was a growing belief that they did not have interest in playing for him when this team is a whole again next season. Greg, what is your interpretation on this? Is it like another? Is it Durant, Irving? Is it just Irving? Do you think Atkinson was probably not connecting with them the way a coach should be? What are your takeaways? What's your gripe, and what's your perspective of the situation?
You mean he wasn't pandering to them, right? Like, yeah, I can't say that I'm surprised, right? This is the era that we're in, where bottom line, if the stars of a team don't buy into what the coach is preaching, it's a lot easier to get rid of the coach. It's a dangerous precedent. It's a culture killer. But we said this from a couple months ago when we were talking about Kyrie's comments about how, like, oh, we're not there yet. We have to get more pieces to surround. Then he listed off some players, and he excluded other players. When I heard him say that, I was like, okay, this team is not coming together this year. And it's very, you know what, like, if you're Atkinson, yeah, you're pissed because you built this program up. You got everyone to buy in. You put in all the hard work. But honestly,
that's it. You got everyone to buy in.
But again, like, that you got them to buy in on the assumption that everyone is equal, right? You're all part of a bigger whole, and you're all sacrificed. But the way that team is going to function next year is not going to be that. I knew this was going to be a problem in the fucking preseason when the Raptors played them, and Kevin Durant was sitting, like, not with the players. He was sitting, like, beside the players where the owners sit. And he had, like, his hat on, and then
snake.
Yeah, and then Kyrie after the game, in the fourth quarter, he went and he took off his jersey and he sat there with Durant instead of with the rest of the team. And you could see, like, okay, these guys have, like, had some kind of deal with ownership. They obviously have ownership's ear, and there's going to be a culture change. And it's upsetting because, like you say, they were a good basketball story. And look, the Raptors are going to have to contend with these guys next year, right? They're going to have a lot of talent. And apparently Tyronn Lue is the guy which is actually funny because I remember Kyrie talking shit to Lue, and he asked for a trade from the Cavs when Lue was there, right? And if anything, he just wants Lue because Lue kind of just lets the players do whatever they want. But is that what it takes to be a good coach in the modern NBA?
Bingo. No, I don't think that's what it takes to be a good coach in the modern NBA.
Survive as a coach?
No, I think that's what it takes to coach two prima donnas, superstars.
AAU babies, man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, everyone knows I don't like Durant, and it's not just. I mean, his play is unreal. He's an unbelievable player, one of the best ever.
The way he carries himself.
It's the way that him, and then Kyrie's like number 2 for me.
Yeah.
In terms of off court
shenanigans.
Yeah, people I dislike based off court antics. Yeah, it's number 1.
I don't think there's a player. Okay, when this happened, I would Graf.
Say it was mutual.
Graf, you and I were having a debate about this when Durant and Irving went to Brooklyn, and I was a huge fan of this decision. In retrospect, looking at this situation, looking at the fact that Kenny Atkinson was forced out of this organization, fuck those guys. I'm sorry. But, like, I know it's a very harsh statement to say. They're both incredibly talented. Kevin Durant is an incredibly talented player, still top 5 in my opinion.
Yeah.
But Kyrie Irving is putting himself in a position to become our generation's fucking Reggie Jackson. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. He's a fantastic basketball player. He is a top 5 point guard, but he's not good enough. He's not Kevin Durant. He's not LeBron James. He's not Giannis Antetokounmpo, where he feels like he can have this sort of domineering presence over an organization like this. He did it with Boston. He fucking did it with Cleveland,
and he fucked up both times.
What discernible skill set? What accomplishment has he gain in his career.
LeBron's coattails.
Exactly. I'm tired of his bullshit. I'm sorry, but I said that like he's going to be the next Reggie Jackson. If shit doesn't go right for Brooklyn next year, you know what I mean? Like, obviously he's locked in that contract, but I just don't see his career going anywhere if he's already become this sort of malignant force in the locker room he's become, especially within his short career. It's been 5 years or so, and he's already become the most vilified guy in the league by his own accord.
I agree with you. Unfortunately, though, he's put himself in a can't-lose situation a bit because he teamed up with the league's most talented scorer. And because we all know that he can get a bucket when he needs to get a bucket. And that's, you asked what he's accomplished? He accomplished hitting that 3 in the series against Golden State. That is his legacy, right? So because of that, since then, he's had an ego the size of this room.
Because he thinks people are going to remember him by that.
But you're right. But you're right. He's trying to be like LeBron, where you can literally go in and like be a force in an organization instead of being a player. Mm-hmm. And you're right that he's not that good. It's just that now he's attached to Durant.
Do you guys remember at the beginning of the season, before it even started, they went to I think it was China or it was somewhere.
And he forgot it, and he refused.
He refused to do some sort of like biometrics thing or something like that. Or it was his hat.
He didn't want to
take
off his hat.
Well. There was like 3 incidences in one trip to China. And right from the beginning, I had a funny feeling that this
well, you called it out. You know what I mean? Like, you were very against this, and you did not believe that they. Like, I was very optimistic. You were not. I guess in retrospect, you were right. I don't know what we're going to see from the team next season.
What if they win a championship in the next couple of years? They're going to be a force.
They're going to be very good next year, pending both.
I don't think so. I don't think so because I don't think they have the complementary pieces to win a championship. On paper, they have great guys. I bought in the Kenny Atkinson system, but I just don't see them being able. Like Spencer Dinwiddie is not going to be like a stand at the perimeter 3-point open shoot like J.R. Smith.
Oh, he's not going to stay.
Like it's just,
he won't be around.
It's tough. Like the moving pieces worked as a cohesive unit when Kyrie and KD weren't there, and now they're just like there's like clog in the motor, and they're just trying to keep the motor going. But like I don't see it happen.
The thing is, like to counter your point though, it's not like they're winning the championship with the team they had before those two either, right? Like you're not wrong. There was improvement. Kenny Atkinson's first season, he had 20 wins. Second season, I think it was like 28, and then the third season, 42.
Yeah, but look at
he's done well, but it's not like that team was going to win the championship.
But they drafted well, they developed their players well. Pascal Siakam was a 27th overall pick, and now he's one of the best players in the NBA. You know what I mean? They facilitated a culture where guys who were coming in, regardless of what draft pick was, they were successful. They were placed in position to be successful. Every single guy they hit on, basically.
We said this. They sold their soul when they decided to do this deal.
It's a tricky and a slippery slope because look how much the Raptors did last year to please Kawhi with no results. I think
that caused issues.
Of course it did.
Right? You could see that the players, the way that because Kawhi, the way that he kind of isolated himself, you could see there was a point when Lowry was definitely bitter.
We won.
Yeah,
glad we won, or else who knows what would have happened, right?
Yeah, but this year's team, they're more together, right? You see that we're definitely more together, and it's more fun to watch.
It's also the impact of a coach. You know what I mean? I think it's one thing a lot of people are overlooking is how one individual, one leader can sort of change a culture of an organization. You look at Mike Budenholzer coming into the Milwaukee Bucks, replacing Jason Kidd, and that team maximized their potential. It's the same team, more or less, but Mike Budenholzer, you know what I mean, was the right guy in that situation.
But the best player,
Kenny Atkinson, in my opinion, is going to be a sought-after coach after the season because you know that no matter how shitty your team is, let's say hypothetically speaking, Dwayne Casey, Knicks, that's a great point. You know what I mean? He's a guy that can get everything from all the talent on his team.
Hey, but listen, like I agree with you, right? The coach as the group's leader, an organizing force. But
in certain situations,
your best players don't buy in, the rest of the team won't buy in.
But we're saying right now that we're assuming that it's buy into like a system, into Kenny Atkinson's like system. I've read, it's not that. From what I've read, it's small things. It's like the decision to try to favor DeAndre Jordan over Jared Allen in terms of minutes right now because Kyrie and Durant want DeAndre Jordan to play. Whereas
Jared Allen's a way better center, in my opinion.
A, he's better. B, he's younger. He needs to get more minutes. And you don't want DeAndre Jordan to playing this much in the regular season anyways.
And since Atkinson left, Jordan started.
Yeah, and he started the first game too when the assistant coach was doing it. So
that's what I'm saying.
I think it's small things like that. I don't think it's like I think it's just like literally they don't like him, and he doesn't like them.
Specific decisions, but they're actually trying to.
It's like they're both specifically trying to do things now to you know what I mean, to contradict each other.
Yeah,
I think that's the point it got to in the locker room.
And
the old heads versus the young heads.
I'm full Atkinson on this.
Yeah, me too.
Like 100%.
Anybody smart would be.
Yeah. Like it's complete fucking shit. Like there's another thing. It's not necessarily part of the gripe. There's one player I just want to sort of throw some love to, on the Detroit Pistons. That's Christian Wood. He has emerged as one of the best big men in the league.
See Wood?
Do you remember
Great first name? Christian Wood. Say it.
You must be really religious. Remember when he was drafted though? Do you remember that draft day? That photo?
Nope.
Okay, I'll show you guys after this. Christian Wood on draft day. Many people are speculating he's going to be a late first. Never gets drafted. And then the only photo of him is bawling his eyes out, collapsed down, folded on a chair, just completely heartbroken. And now he's playing under a coach who believes in him, in Dwayne Casey. He's playing under a coach who calls his shit out, like Dwayne Casey. And I'm ecstatic that he's going to get paid. He's an unrestricted free agent this season. Most contending teams could use a big man who can play the 4 or 5, drain the open 3, or drain the 3 in general.
Question for you though, Brandon. How much is he worth? A half a season of being really good when Andre Drummond left. No Blake Griffin all season long.
3 years, 36.
They're going to get a
3 years, 36
draft pick.
336. That's what I would do, and I think they should re-sign him. I think he's like he came in the league being too skinny to play in the low post, and he wasn't an efficient enough shooter to play in the outside. He's bulked up and he's improved drastically as an outside shooter. I wouldn't give him like 20 to 30 million, but $12-15 million per season, I think it'd be a smart decision for a lot of teams. Were you at Charlotte Hornets? Hardy, thank you very much for listening, guys. We'll be back next week with another podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can catch us on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Music, etc. Have a fantastic week, and
peace out, D-Dot.